Learning from your own mistakes is a great thing, but learning from others is even better. Today I have Warren with me, the third of our trio in BOC. Now, before we go on, disclaimer. Number one, we are not financial advisors, so don't take what we say as financial advice. Number two, everything we share is true and accurate as of the posting date. Number three, we only share what works for us, so it's based on lived experience. And of course, really important, always do your own research. So the first mistake I see a lot of people make is to not treat Pokemon as a hobby, more specifically Pokemon TCG. Now, I have a lot to share about this. In fact, this is really important point for me as I deal with people, right? I have a personal issue with people who come into the hobby and they don't even know anything about it and they're just in it for the money. So I'm totally against that, right? You do you, but if you're like that, you're not my kind of people, right? But maybe Warren, you can share why this is good advice or why is it a mistake for people to just look at this purely as a financial thing.
Yeah, so great point. I mean, I understand that it's easy for someone to be like this because the values of Pokemon are just going up, right? And it's already created a foundational historical value, and as a collectible, especially with a good IP, that everything is going up. So people want to leverage off that. So I understand why they're doing this. But I also, and going back to your point of understanding the fundamentals and treating it as a real hobby instead of just looking at the financial aspect is important, because that will substantiate to understand why this should be as a hobby and should be enjoyable at the first place.
Now, for me, ironically, if you treat it as a hobby, now specifically, what do I mean by you treating it as a hobby? It means that you actually interact with the IP. So for example, a lot of us who are so-called the millennial generation, those born between mid-1980s to like late 90s, we probably watched the first Pokemon movie with Mew and Mewtwo. We probably watched Pokemon 2000 at the very least. I think everything after that, Pokemon movies felt a little bit, not as good anymore, with a few bright spots, of course. Now, that's one aspect of, participating in the hobby. The second aspect would be playing the games. So whether you play Pokemon Go, you play the actual TCG, whether it's Pocket TCG, Pokemon ZA, or the mainline games, Fire Red, Leaf Green back in the day, I think when you enjoy the hobby, first of all, it's more sustainable, right? And you actually start to create bonds with the IP. You actually know what each Pokemon do, what's so unique about each Pokemon, right? Now, it's also very beneficial for the financial aspect, ironically, because think about who are the people that has made the most money in this hobby. These are the people that when the prices were not going up, they were still buying and they were still participating in the IP, collecting all the grails that we see today, all the Mega Evolution grails back in 2015, 2016, 2012. They're just buying it because they just like the art or they just enjoy the game. So it's like, hey, I've been using Mega Rayquaza in the game, so maybe I'm going to get a card as well. They didn't really care whether it was going up or not now, but because they bought it 10, 15 years ago, today they are, doing really well. So it's a bit funny because it's like you make more by not focusing on the money. So that's the one thing. And of course, it's a fun game. It's a fun IP to interact with, even as cute as buying the merchandise and, decorating your house with it. I think that's really cool.
So I think the experience that I personally have is because I have two kids. And this IP is so great in a way that when kids just, even at the first glance, they immediately love Pokemon and Pikachu. They can recognize Pikachu, the Gen 1 Pokemon, Charizard and whatnot. So this hobby has actually created a good experience in terms of bonding with loved ones and kids. As fun as it is to rip packs as well, and also chasing your hit. But also there are several ways to enjoy this hobby. For example, creating master sets and chasing or actually just following the Pokemon that you like, the artwork, the IP. Yeah, so in general, they have done a great job.
Yeah, before we move on to the second mistake is, at the end of the day, what I'm chasing is not the chase cards per se, is, chasing the feeling of holding a Pokemon that you like and not caring too much about the value. Which, again, I want to re-emphasize the irony is that if you are drawn to, a lot of people will also be drawn to that card usually, and that actually affects the price. So yeah, very weird sort of advice and mistake to avoid, right? Don't focus on the money and you'll make a lot of it, I guess. Mistake number 2, if you are new to the hobby, you really need to know this thing called pull rates. Now, there are many ways to get cards online. The most popular way is to buy sealed product, usually we call it, booster box, ETBs. and open the packs. That was how, people our age did it way back when. Or you can buy the cards outright. Now, specifically for people who are ripping packs, you need to know this thing called pull rate. And maybe Warren, you can let us know what a pull rate is, and perhaps you can share with us why it's important to know.
Sure, yeah. So this is one of the biggest mistakes, and I wish a Sifu or someone experienced would come in and tell me a year and a half ago, because at that rate, I was just simply ripping, and this is also called gambling, because I wanted to everyone wants to get the hit card of the set, isn't it? And I started, just to share with you an experience, I started with ripping Prismatic, which is actually known for traumatic evolutions, if you guys understand.
Yeah, really bad pull rates.
Yeah, really bad pull rates.
So any specific SIR would be almost 1 in 1,500, nearly.
Yes, 1,400 to 1,500 is the pull rate. And during this experience, in fact, the second ETB, I pulled the Espion SIR. And that time I thought I was godlike already.
Yeah. So got back coming.
Got back coming already, and it led to 20 ETBs with all failures after that. So just to share with you my experience, I wish there's someone to come and tell me, hey, don't gamble. Might as well buy the single.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, it led me to that, because the pull rates on a specific SIR is 1 to 1,004, 1 to 1,005. Yeah.
So one way to look at this is to buy the cards outright. I do believe in that. However, I also believe that you can actually rip packs, but you have to rip packs with a budget. So you have to know this number, right? If let's say you are on a limited budget, of course, budget, something that is sustainable for you. And maybe this is a future video, right, for us to talk about the financial aspect, the personal financial aspect of Pokémon TCG. But you want to set that aside, and you want to limit, right? So whether that's $500, $1,000, once you hit that amount, if you do not hit the chase, just save out your money to buy the cards outright if you really want the card. Now, of course, if you have a bigger budget, what I like to do is, let's say if I have a lot of money, I would actually spend this amount, I guess, just 1,440, right? It's a lot for most of us. One Prismatic Evolution pack now is, $10, $20. But if you have the budget, again, open 1,400, right? If you can't get it in 1,400, move on, right? But you probably get something, right, by then.
Yeah, so adding on to that, if you do the calculations and the maths, back then, the Sunbryon SIR card is worth around 3,000 ringgit raw, which comes out to be close to $900.
Yeah.
Since the pull rate is 1 to 1,004, I remember the price per pack was 75 ringgit, and that equates to probably close to $20, like you said. You might as well just buy the raw at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it doesn't make sense to actually rip and try to get a chance. Yes, given that if you buy a raw, it'll be actually hard to chase a PSA 10 potential, because hardly anyone will sell a PSA 10 potential. But if you wanted to chase as a collectible or as a binder copy, and if you believe that the value will grow, then you might as well get it raw. Yeah.
So this is, I don't have the precise data to back what I'm about to say, but based on my experience and experience of my friends, when you rip a pack, you don't count a situation where like you are able to pull an Espion SIR, right? That is a unique beginner's luck, let's call it, right?
Yes.
But as time passes, right, what happens is typically for every booster bundle you open, or you can say every pack, you actually get back around 50 to 60 cents. So for every dollar you spend, you get back to 50 to 60. So opening packs is basically a really good way to be down 40%. Almost
a
guaranteed
way.
right now. To be fair, if the set you're opening has good chase cards, over time it will go back up. Like for example, I ripped quite a few 151 packs back in the day, right? And then when I saw the math, man, I'm already down to 30-40%. So dumb. But if you wait long enough, in fact now I'm already in the money, right? Just based on the pools that I have.
Yes.
Regardless, this is something that you really need to know. Mistake number 3, do not catch them all. So Warren, this was something that you really wanted to add in here. And it sounds like you have a lot to say.
Yeah, so you know the song when you want to be the very best, and then the Ash was like,
You don't flip the cap.
That was me last time.
You don't have to flip the cap.
Because I had an ambition where I wanted to pull every single chase of every set. So for example, Stellar Crown is the Squirtle, a Prismatic was the Sunbryon. I wanted to catch the top 2 of every one. But then again, when you realize back, and this falls back to point number 1, if it's already so hard to pull, then it doesn't make sense to catch them all also by. If you, however, want to chase the singles, then it's a different story. But my experience in this was that, again, is money burnt. And again, I wish someone would actually come down to me and say, hey, you know what, you can't catch them all. So my point was, if you should focus on a specific reason why you should want these particular cards or collection. So for example, like if you want to enjoy just Master Balls because you know it looks great and Master Balls came out in one prismatic, or if you want to just chase Pikachu, right? That is a collection for you and that works for you because you believe in the artwork, you love the Pokemon and whatnot. Yeah, so what I'm trying to say essentially is that why are you actually building up this collection and what does it comprise of?
So I think there are two things to talk about. I think if you, before you just described, you are chasing and you're trying to pull, that is compounding mistake number 2, right? Which is opening packs, right? So you are just like multiplying your misery, basically, right? But I think there's something a little bit more nuanced that I want your thoughts on, which is, what if you do want to catch them all, but you want to buy all the singles, the top chasers? Let's say in this case here, we have the Scarlet and Violet chasers. Is that also something that you would recommend, or you think that that is also a form of misery?
That actually is somewhat more doable, and it's not really misery because this is really what you want.
Yeah.
And I would say that chasing the top 2 chasers in every set will be I would rather buy them as a single,
of course,
rather than pull. So answering your question, it's not really a misery.
Okay.
In fact, if you do want it, you can chase it.
Yeah.
So
I will put a caveat here, which is that I think, why are you chasing the singles, right? To collect all of them. Are you doing it because you really like the art, you know, you really appreciate like Scarlet and Violet Sword and Shield or any later sets? Or are you just doing it because, you know, you can flex and you can show other people that you have this card? I think the second motivation is not great, but I think the first is a lot better. Again, treat it as a hobby, right? And usually hobbies are things that you enjoy regardless of whether other people enjoy or not. In fact, my big mistake was that I quit Pokemon, even though, you know, I quit Pokemon maybe 20 years ago when I shouldn't have. Mainly because I like to say, because, you know, you can't really get late, you know, when you are chasing Pokemon cards. But see, that's an example of me making the mistake of caring about what other people think about what I enjoy. Because I enjoyed Pokemon cards, right? I quit during the EX era, which was a great era to collect. And had I ignored the inner voice and the outside voice, I would have been a lot wealthier. Yeah. So anyways, that is it for mistake number 3. Mistake number 4, do your homework. Okay, so we have a Master Ball Badu here, right? It's a pretty cool card actually. And to my knowledge, I don't play the physical TCG, I only play Pocket. But I know Badu is quite a playable card. It's like quite a meta.
Yeah. It was the meta back in the Prismatic Evolution days. Yeah.
And why? Yeah, share with us. You wanted this card to be here.
Okay. So last time I ripped a lot of packs and I've had a lot of bulk. So in order to recoup back the so-called capital, I would want to sell my bulk also. And I noticed that there are some playables. But what I didn't notice, so this do your homework is actually very general, but to be specific, it's actually do your homework on the things that you want to sell in the marketplace.
Yeah.
Why this Badu is here is because Badu in general is very sought after card because it was a meta back then in Prismatic. And I don't really play the card game, so I got actually fooled because when I want to sell a particular card, where do you refer to? You refer to collector or shiny.
If you're especially in Malaysia, right?
Yes,
there's a lot of shiny.
in Malaysia is shiny. So back then, this Master Ball Badu was, I think, going for 30 ringgit.
Yeah, so about $8 US, $7 to $8 US, yeah.
And I sold it at such. But what I found out in the community, as in the players, they were actually selling at 3 times the price.
The buyer was an immediate yes.
The buyer was even commenting on, hey, this is white dot here and there. Can I get it a little cheaper? And I was like, okay, I just want to let go. And eventually I let go at, I think, probably 10% discount for the buyer.
So
which what I learned was obviously after that he bragged and said, oh, I got this at a very cheap price. You know, he flexed and all that.
Oh, did he? That you actually found out?
I found out that he flexed. So I was like, this guy, okay, I'm going to get him next time. But yes, so what I'm trying to say essentially is that do your homework as in, because there is some premium whatnot as a playable card.
Yeah.
And this goes to Dragapult, this goes to Lily's Clefairy and all these sort of cards. And before you actually want to gain some alpha, a little bit more alpha into the card that you want to sell.
Yeah, and I think that's why you need to have community, right? You probably didn't have someone to ask for a second opinion.
Correct.
Right? And if you recall back because you started ripping packs during the Prismatic era, and during that era, Shiny was just about coming in. For those of you all who are attuned to the Malaysian market. We used to use throw and tote a lot, or TNT.
That's right.
TNT times 4, TST times 4.5.
Yeah.
Now that has changed, right? So that transition to Shiny, the pricing might not even be accurate, right? Because it was quite a young app. Well, still a young app, but it was a younger app back then.
Yes.
So my story of doing a homework actually has to do with 151 ETBs. So I wanted to master set the 151. Okay, so for me, it's not a mistake to rip packs, even though yes, the math says it is. It's because I know that eventually the cards will do well. Back in the day when I started ripping packs, the 151 SIR Charizard was about $90, $100.
Yeah.
So in ringgit terms, it's 400. Today, it's about 1,700 ringgit, so about $400. Let's say, right? So I knew that was fine. So I knew it wasn't a mistake, even though I'm going to be down 40-50% just by ripping packs. I started with booster bundles, and then I found it was when I first started ripping ETBs was a very new concept to me. So when I saw it, I was like, okay. Part of me knew that, I calculated the price per pack, like it's not really worth it. But then, because you're new in the hobby, so you think, well, but ETB got better hits because they printed first. I started receiving this kind of advice. So okay, back then one ETB was, I want to say, about $75 when I started, or lower. In fact, some could get 65. So then, I opened one and I ended up opening 3. I don't think I got much out of it.
Okay.
Certainly whatever I got would not have covered, right? Even if I got the Zard, I would have covered my losses, because now the 3 of those combined would be 6,000 ringgit. So 1,000, 5,000, touching 2,000 USD, right? Basically. So the mistake was I should have just opened bundles, right? ETBs, not to say not meant for opening. I think if you want to open ETBs, it's okay. But if you want your best bang for buck, and if you're trying to complete a master set, I would recommend bundles, because they are usually cheaper. Or, because 151 was a holiday set.
Yep.
So in other sets, it will be booster boxes rather than ETB. And let alone Pokemon Center, which fortunately, I did not buy.
Yep.
But linked to this, there's actually a smaller mistake, which was, actually it's not small, it's quite a big one, is that if I wanted to buy an ETB as a sealed product investment, I would actually focus on Pokemon Center if I can get it. As long as the price is not too crazy, and I define it as, anything around the range or below 2.5 times differential. So for example, if an ETB is $100, I don't want to pay above $250 to $300 for Pokemon Center ETB. And the reason is because it's space. The price performance, again, on the assumption that you get it at a fair price, is pretty much the same, and some would argue it's actually even better.
Yep.
But think about it, you get one Pokemon Center ETB, it's like 2.5 ETBs, and the space that you have is a lot lesser.
And also the access of Pokemon Center ETBs makes it more valuable, isn't it?
Yes, but then, this is a debate topic, but liquidity is a question mark, because some people do the math and they don't get it. Like, why should I pay so much more for this? But some people are like what you say, right? They feel the rarity, and so they don't mind paying it. So, that's more on the selling side. But as far as I'm concerned, I learned a lot, right? And if you compare the very first ETB with booster box of the same era, which was, I believe this is Plasma Storm, the very first ETB. There's a Lugia ETB.
Yep.
I believe the Lugia ETB has outperformed the booster box.
Because now it's going at around 33,000 ringgit, right? Which is
the ETB. So about $9,000. Yeah, that's right. So that is my lesson for, when it comes to doing your homework. All right, bonus lessons and lessons that we learned from our own personal experience. So Warren, you have a couple and I have one. So Bubble Mew, tell us the story of this. Is it a costly mistake, you say?
It is a costly mistake. So what happened was, first off, I got really lucky because I pulled a Bubble Mew out of 3 loose packs in the Pokemart in Malaysia. If you're in Malaysia, you'll know the Pokemart machine. And I drew a Bubble Mew, which happened to be a PSA 10 because I graded it and I got it. So I got really lucky in that aspect. And I thought that, again, being the godlike hands that I have, I was ripping more Paldean. And I also pulled another Bubble Mew from a 3-pack.
It's like a blister.
Blister, correct. Okay. This one happened to be OC.
Okay. For those who don't know, it's just off-centered.
Off-centered, very OC.
So this was like the sides or the top?
The sides.
The sides, okay.
The sides. And
this is the front, and it's the front, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And my perception, the front. My perception was that a lot of people had the same thought as me, that everyone is chasing the perfect card. They want PSA 10 potential, they want no very nice centering and all that. So I thought that this was not a sought after card because it's OC, and I sold it for 800 ringgit when that time, which is $200, And at that time, the market rate was going at 1,002 ringgit, which is $300.
So big, it's like almost a third discount.
Yes.
Well, actually, I thought a third, yeah.
Yeah, a third. And this was costly to me because number one, I knew that this card was actually very sought after. It's a beautiful card.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's just a generational card.
Number two, I sold it because my thought process was that no one will want to OC. It's okay to sell it at a bad price. And in fact, I thought I got a deal from that person actually buying at that price. Now, obviously, it's a different case because it's going at 3,000 ringgit, which is close to $900, right? Obviously, that's in hindsight, but that was my mistake. Actually thinking that because there are tons of people that actually want to actually just collect this card as a binder collection, and they don't mind it being slightly OC. Yeah, so that was.
There's actually quite a big community of vendors in Malaysia that just only do raw cards. And there are some collectors that I know that are from all over the world. They will buy PSA 9s and crack it just to keep the raw. No, they're not cracking it to regrade. They're just cracking it because they want the raw.
They want the raw. I see.
Yeah, so they go around PSA 9s and put in their binder.
Got it.
I love those people because those are true hobbyists, right? So, but in your case, what prompted you to say, "Wow, I'll take to produce that number, right? 30% off." Right, it's oddly specific. Why didn't you say just 10%? Okay, I understand. Maybe $300 is not a good idea. So hey, why not you take it at 250, 270?
Yeah, good question. So because of that mindset that it's not a sought after card, I was just willing to let it go, especially fast, so I can get some cash back at least. So yes, that was a costly mistake. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So you have a second one, which is this will be Obsidian Flames.
Yes.
Charizard, and this one is a PSA 10.
PSA 10. Yeah. So what happened was I bought a PSA 10 from someone. At that time, I bought it for 1,006 ringgit, which is $400. The price suddenly spiked up to 2,006, which is 1,000 ringgit gain.
So it's about 50%-ish gain.
Yes, 50% gain. Yeah, I sold it because of thinking that I got a very good deal out of this card.
And some context, maybe share us what's the duration between you buying it and it went from 1,006 to 2,006.
A few months, less than 6 months.
Yeah, and because we are both from the stock market background, you know that kind of gains in that period, right? The R, right, is Tangledom, but it is unheard of.
Yes.
And it's almost like too good to be true or too fast, right?
Yes. So it makes sense as a business point of view, as an investment point of view. Yeah. So I wouldn't say obviously it's a costly mistake, not as my first one, but it is a mistake nonetheless because I really like this card. When I pulled it as a raw, some people may have some perception on this card, but I really love this card as an art. The gem rate on this card, by the way, for those of you that don't know, is the rate of grading. A gem min rate is a rate of grading it to get a 10.
How many 10s over the number of submissions? Yeah?
Yes. It's less than 30%, 25%.
Yeah. So for context, something like the Moonbreon is above 50%. I think it's almost 60%, right?
Yes.
So 30% is actually really low. Yeah.
Yes, really, really low. And this also relates back to do your homework, because knowing a card that has nice art and fits the fundamentals of a nice sheet, it's a Charizard after all, would be valuable especially after they will stop printing, right? So it's not a costlier mistake for me, but it's a mistake as a regret nonetheless, because
So you bought it at $400, you probably sold it at $600 odd.
Yes.
So what is it today? Please share with us your pain,
Today it is 3,000 ringgit, close to 900. Yeah, 800-ish.
Okay, not that painful yet, right? Maybe in a year's time.
Because I believe that this value would eventually go up.
So I guess maybe like a side tangent here is that would you, in this scenario, would you actually go back in, right? Like 3,000. It's painful, right? Because you bought it at 400, and then
I'm constantly looking at Facebook Marketplace for people to sell this card, but no one is selling
it 800. Sorry, this is about 9.
Correct. They will sell it at a premium because they know it's a sought after card.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Fair enough. Yeah. Okay, so my mistake is actually linked to Obsidian Flames, and that is the sealed product. So when people are looking at sealed product, the general advice and the standard advice is it always follows the chase. So you actually want to know what's the desirability of the card. Now, of course, it's a Charizard, so props to that. But if you remember when Obsidian Flames came out, this was in mid-2023. I know you haven't started collecting then, but I was already collecting back then, and the nickname that they had was Obsidian Lames, right? Because a lot of people felt that this was too spammy, the Charizard. The number of Charizards that's in this set. Okay, the Charmander is a saving grace, but it's not just how spammy Charizard is, it's also the artwork. Now, yes, it's by Igawa. Yes, I know you like it. So I don't dispute subjective opinions on art. However, it is a fact that a lot of people do not rate this art, right? Because one example would be you can't really see the eyes. Now, when you think of Charizard, if you follow the series and why it's such an endearing animal, sorry, not animal, endearing Pokemon, is because if you remember his Charizard's journey with Ash, right? He's always the one that don't listen. So you could see his sort of rebellious attitude through his eyes, right? Through his eye language or even his body language. When you look at even later series, Alan's Charizard or Leon's Charizard, they are very ferocious looking, right? So the eyes are really important, and I think a lot of people, whether they say it or not, that's why they put the art a little bit lower, even though it's an Igawa, right? And they have the same criticism for the Paldean Fates Charizard as well. You cannot really see the eyes. I mean, the eyes are there, but it's not the standout feature. Whereas if you look at other cards, right, of course, whether it's all the base sets and all the famous Charizards, it's always there. So now, because of that perception, that's why I didn't get sealed, right? But just year on year, the sealed is, I think, up 200%. And this is based on May 2025, as of this recording, right? 1 year. But I could have bought it in 2023, which was, the 151 E's back then were, as I mentioned, about $80, $75. I could have gotten this at $60 or less dollars, right? And so, but it's my mistake is that at the end of the day, like you said, it's still a Zard. The worst Zard is better than a lot of the best card of, you know, it's like you have to go as far to maybe Greninja, then the best Greninja can beat the worst Zard, right? By and large, right? So yeah, it's Zard, right? At the end of the day, sometimes your thesis to buy a sealed product is just, is it a Zard? Is it a Pikachu? That's the same thoughts I have for Surging Sparks, even though it's a set that was popular but not as popular.
Adding to that as well, I mean, some people also, when they invest in ETBs, they look at the art of the...
Yeah, and fantastic, right?
It's fantastic art. And also the promo is arguably actually very nice because it combines with the Bulbasaur and the Squirtle, which is in a different set.
Yeah.
So that also is another pointer that is sort of the card.
Correct. Yeah. So that's why I knew it was a mistake when I saw Stellar Crown becoming really hot. And then someone told me like, hey, because Stellar Crown is going up, Obsidian Flames will go out. I'm like, sure not. Like, the Zard's so ugly. I also don't fancy Zard a lot. Then he was like, yeah, but do you realize that you need Obsidian Flames to complete the Stellar Crown, you know, the other duo? And I'm like, oh, but by the time I said, oh, the price went up. So it's a little bit too late. Anyways, guys, this is the end of the videos. If you have any more mistakes, let us know in the comments if you made some of these as well. Share with us your experience, maybe some mistakes that we missed out, and whether you want like a part 2, there's actually so many more mistakes that we can share. And with that, I'll see you in the next video. We'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
See you guys.